Hello, welcome to another edition of On Point, focus on Liberia's premier show. With me is my co-host George Tully. We are going to be localizing our conditions, our politics, and our conversation today. And we're going to begin in my own hometown, my home county, Grand Bassa County. And after we have discussed Grand Bassa County, we are going to discuss former Vice President Joseph Boakar's trip to the United States. We are going to be talking about the MCC scorecard, how well Liberia did, what was our impediments, and then we are going to finally discuss the U.S. ambassador's perception on President Weah's selection to participate in the democracy audience. He will be speaking to the United States, and hopefully that will lead to his trip in 2022 to Washington, D.C. Mr. Tully, how are you doing, and how is the north of the border?
Yeah, we're doing fine here. We want to welcome our viewers to another Sunday. We know that you guys take your time to be here with us, and we are so grateful. Thank you so much for being with us. I was just thinking about something. We should have had a guest today, and he was to be the Janji Bakwe, the superintendent of Grand Bassa County. Unfortunately, he's not here, so we have to improvise and resort to Plan B. So we want to welcome. The north of the border is the north. It's cold, like I don't know what out here. So, but we bless God for the opportunity, and just we have it no other way. So Jerome, it's nice being with you again, and we thank God that we can have another show. What is going on, Jerome? Your
County politics is germane to a nation politics. And some of the things that we have decided to do, I spoke to the producer of this show, and one of the things that they wanted to do was to do a county series, superintendent series per se. We have always discussed Liberian politics in the context of Monrovia. Everything is in Monrovia. So this station have decided to bring on superintendents from the different counties to come and give basically a state of affairs of the different counties, how well they are doing from education, healthcare, and you name it. And one of the things we decided to do was to invite the CEO of the county, which is, it could be Janji Brape, it could be anybody else from a different county. So in so doing, we also understand that what happens in Monrovia, the different counties is like a microcosm of politics, economics, health, you name it, the social fabric of the country replicate itself in the different counties. So we are going to be looking at Grand Bassa County today. We are going to be looking at the education system in Grand Bassa County. We are going to be looking at the concession agreement, concession areas in Grand Bassa County. We are going to be talking about the healthcare in Grand Bassa County. And actually, we are going to, this has nothing to do with partisanship. This is not a UP, Liberty Party, or CDC thing. This is a human condition issue. How well are our people being educated, the children being educated in the county? How well have their healthcare been taken care of? So if the Bassa people are listening, if you have an idea, we'd love you to call in, comment in and see. We want you to take off your partisanship, we want you to take off your partisan hat, we want you to take off your biases, we want you to be brutally honest. What we are doing, what you are doing as an individual. We saw something today in the paper about the city being filthy, there's weed, the city is overgrown. If you live in the vicinity of the lower Grand Bassa, Buchanan area, what you are doing as an individual for your own health, are you cleaning your own surrounding? What are you doing? These are things that if there is not a national agenda, what are you doing to eliminate waste, to do all of those things? So we're going to be discussing those things today. I think George Tully is somebody who grew up in the area. has a broader idea on Liberia, so he knows that what happens in Monrovia obviously happens in other counties. So, Mr. Tula, let's get going here. What do you know about Grand Bassa County, and what can we do to help Grand Bassa?
Well, right now, except looking at Liberia, but specifically Buchanan, I have been in Liberia for a very long time. But I was in Buchanan for almost a year or so, a couple of months, not a couple more than a couple of months. And Buchanan is a typical Liberian city that what you see in Buchanan holds for basically most parts of the country, except maybe with the exception of Ganta, to a certain degree, San Nicolas. Because when it comes to cities that are economic powerhouses, like Monrovia, Kakata, and Ganta, those those three areas are what we call areas of serious economic activities. But outside of that, Buchanan looks sleepy. There's not much economic and economic activity going on in Grand Bassa County, and is indicative of what we find across the country. Now, I, that's why it's difficult to discuss in that sense, to discuss Grand Bassa in isolation of the rest of the country, because it is like what ails all, what ails one ails all. When you isolate Buchanan, even with the presence of Lamco, or what we call Ashla Metab now, the same thing that happened during the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s and the 80s is still an enclave thing, right? They live in a secluded society away from the rest of the city. In the city, and we all know recently there was an article in the newspaper talking about the lack of ambulances in Buchanan, and Buchanan is a historical city, right? It's one of the regional signatories in terms of the nation, Liberia, Idano, which is just separated by the river, and 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 I want to look at it from that perspective. Uh, there ain't much happening in Buchanan right now. Educationally, the Bassa Community College is there. They're working on it, but everything is still lacking substance, still lacking the kind of investment. The unemployment rate in Buchanan is high, as in many other parts of the country, or all other parts of the country, including Monrovia itself. So, if you ask me what I know about Grand Bassa, it's what I know about Liberia. And being somebody who lived in Guap, and when I lived in Grand Bassa, it was even worse off than now, because it was in 96, and it's 96, 95, 96, and it was worse off than now. So that is not for me the outlook. That's why I really wanted Janji to be here and tell us what are his plans, his projects, his what are his initiatives, how is he engaging with non-governmental organizations, how is he engaging with the mining sector in terms of their final. And not only that, even the logging companies use Buchanan as their as where they're sending out their logs. So we need to look into all of that. Well, how is the county government operating because I'll be frank with you, when it comes to the presence of companies, we have LAC. LAC is one of the major employers in Liberia. It's in Grand Bassa County. So all these different things should really, really be able to help move the country forward, the county forward economically. And then how do we address the issue of healthcare, the lack of ambulances? And it's not only the lack of ambulances, but just the lack of health delivery as a whole in a county, and the measures that have been taken to plug those holes. Because once you don't have a concerted plan from the top, all you be doing is like fire brigade, everybody trying to plug holes instead of having one policy driven ideological background of everything and moving things forward. So I don't know, because the only person that could really tell us the state of affairs are those who live there now and the superintendent. And
Well,
unfortunately, not yet.
okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you're from the Bassa Belt, if you're from Grand Bassa County, if you are aware of what we are talking about, this is non-partisan. We are trying to dissect. You see, when the nation is ill, you cannot do a general anesthetic per se. We want to do it limb by limb. Now, we understand that Grand Bassa County, when you look at the list, Grand Bassa County has been blessed. It is endowed with some of the biggest corporations in the country. You are talking about Locke. We are talking about Palm Bay. We talk about ArcelorMittal. You talk about major corporations in the county that is second to Monserrato that have major financial contribution to the national budget, and they are in the county. So why is it that Grand Bassa County, it is where it is, and these corporations, I mean, you talk about the 50s and the 60s, we have Lamco, Vianini, we have some of the huge corporations from abroad that have come to Grand Bassa County, and Grand Bassa County, it has always been the hub. From Monrovia, there is an hour 45 minutes. It's just like if you live in New York, you can go to New Jersey and come on back. The road is good. The people are well endowed. So what's holding Grand Bassa County back?
Look, it's not. It's what is holding Liberia back. What's holding Liberia back is we haven't decided what we want as a people. The Bible says where there is no vision, the people will live carelessly. This thing transcends political parties. You could put anybody there today, and they will be plagued with the same problems that the George Weah government is plagued with if they do not have ideological beliefs about what they want to see in the country. If they cannot translate those ideologies into vision, actionable plans of what they want to see, they run the race. They will want to replace George Weah, run the race of waking up the morning after inauguration and wondering, how do I begin? And that is one of the things that plagues CDC. And if you can't get it from the beginning, you're not going to get it throughout. Because that means you don't have a central playbook that have been designed. That the first morning you wake up and say, yes, this is the playbook. We open it. What do we agree that we're going to start implementing from day one? Page one. Page one, we have to do a line. How have we met these different indicators? The first thing we need to do is to get our team together. You're not supposed to wait until the morning after inauguration before you start looking for your team. If you know you have a shot at the presidency, you have already talked to people who will be filling those places, gauge them, understand how they think about Liberia, what they want to see in Liberia before you even announce their appointment. If you don't have a central playbook, and that central playbook is crafted, is created, it comes out of having vision, having a dream. The Liberian dream. What is it we want to do for our people? Let me be honest with you. Janje can't do much. Superintendent Baba can't do much. What is his budget? How much money is he giving to effect anything? He has a district officer for education, district health officer, district health education officer, or county education officer, right? And they call it CEO.
They got CEO and DO, I think.
Okay. So they got a county education officer, they got the district education officer. These people are the ones who implement the budget from the Ministry of Education, for instance. The superintendent is there to oversee what? That is the question. So as a result, because he doesn't have any kind of key developmental role, he becomes existential. The only thing is, and it's not restricted to Janje, it cuts across the country. All superintendents, all they do, they go to Monrovia, make sure their vouchers are passed, take care of their personal expenses and those who are within their office or those who are aligned with them, and that is it. It's all about survival, the entire tenure. There is nothing developmental about the superintendent, even including the one who is called the development superintendent of the county. This is not restricted to Grand Bassa. This is across the country because they have nothing to work with. They don't have a budget, a development budget that they give them, something substantial that they can say, okay, Let's do the farm to market roads going this place. There's a big mud pit on the highway. Superintendent of Sano County, for instance, supposed to be able to go, supposed to be closing, supposed to be able to go, supposed to be able to go and say, okay, we got mud pits on the road. I got to take care of the mud pits. Even in Grand Bassa County, going to the different districts, there are places that can spoil and that can affect how goods and services are rendered in those areas or how market goods are brought into the city. The superintendent has no ability to say, I want to fix a mud pit. Just one single mud pit to say, I want to fill it up so that trucks and cars can pass easily. He doesn't have a budget.
Okay, but let me hold you to that. We understand that there's something called the county social responsibility, right? The different corporations pay into that. And from what I understand, companies like Metascue is giving like something like $1.5 million annually. I think their total budget for the social responsibility of the county, if I'm not mistaken, this is why Honorable Bapech who have been here, I think they get about maybe around $2 to $3 million that go directly into the county coffers, where they have a responsibility, county sitting, to actually allocate monies to departments and projects that they find germane to the people, because the people actually tell them district by district what their needs are. And I can attest to that because we are building a hospital in a place called DeSoto Town, and Honorable Biped and the Bassa Legislative Caucus were generous enough to give us, I think, $30,000 towards a $250,000 project that we are doing. So it is true that they do have, while everything else is centralized, just like Nema County and Grand Bassa County, they have a huge chunk of money that comes to them directly into their coffers, where they decide through the county setting process what projects they want funded, how often they should do that. And when I was there, that was not the case, but it is the case now. So we cannot absolve them of that. Like you say again, he should have been here to let us know what are those.
No, I understand what you're talking about, but guess what? Now, that money that you're talking about, the amount of eyes that are on that money, that money should be unfettered. It should not be attached to anything. It should just go directly to the people, right, Mr. Gaiman? That money is not for salaries. That money is not for equipment, except the county decide to use part of it to acquire some. But that money is for social services. It should go to schools, healthcare, the primary things in the county. Schools, healthcare, and maybe roads. Because we can say, okay, every year we take maybe 20% or 30% and do, regrade, some parts of the roads within the county. But I'll be honest with you, that money has too many eyes on it. And like you said, you're right. But that still is not a budget. It's not a budget. That money already it should go towards education and healthcare, mainly towards education and healthcare. Maybe you can even use some to even incentivize or even support farming within the county. But the real people who eat that money are the legislative caucus and the county leadership. They eat the majority of the money. So as a result, they have very little to do with something that is tangible that can translate in the lives of their people. That's just the reality there. So when you hear me saying, because they're not the only one now, because that railroad passes through Nema gets hers. It passes through Bong, and Bong gets hers, and then comes to Grand Bassa County. So I think that 3 counties getting that money. That money is broken up, and I think Nema County gets the lion's share, right?
Yeah, but yes, to some degree, Bassa gets beside Nema because we got a port. We're not only using, but they also get extra for the port usage.
Okay.
And that's also, and this is what we are talking about when we invite county leaders here. It is not political. Nobody is coming here to say this is CDC versus Liberty Party. It is a way for you to come out here and educate your people. Because some of us people in the media, most of the things that we see and hear, we get it from the newspapers, we get it from the internet. People who are on the ground, actually, they are the ones, especially the authority. We're talking about the senators, the representatives, the city mayors. This has nothing to do with politics. Mr. Tule wants to know what is the health of Grand Bassa County? What is the education of Grand Bassa County? What are we doing? What are the challenges? What are the success and the failures? It has nothing. Listen, there's nothing wrong with coming here and saying we tried this and it failed. We're doing something else. There's nothing wrong with asking them, Mr. Tule, you have a lot of expertise in waste management and all of that. How can we harness the energy? What can we do to make Bassa, we're talking about waste management, exclusive outside of the national? You got to be innovative, be creative. If the national government is waiting for the $1 billion to build landfill all over the place, I know Mr. Tule can tell you, you don't need to wait for the 1 billion. Maybe you call less all the corporations in Grand Bassa County and say, listen, we need to build a small landfill here that we can actually start portioning our water and making it sanitized for everybody, because a healthy nation is a productive nation. This is not politics. This is life. So when people invite you on these shows, they are not coming to bash you. We are coming to inform. You want to inform your audience, inform your citizens. Basically, this is like a year in review. What you have done this year, what has worked, what are your challenges, what didn't work, and where do you need help. Now we talk about ambulances. I think Mr. Tule talked about ambulances. Okay, it looks bad when the newspaper posts the referral hospital, the number one hospital in the county, is basically on its needs. And we are hearing that, what they needed was $1,200 to fix one of the ambulances, and they couldn't even come up with $1,200.
Okay, so then where the $1 million going? That's the thing that we're talking about here. Because that means, okay, you got a referral hospital, right? And that hospital is always staffed with good doctors. You have a county, you have a country. One of the biggest crimes in Liberia is over 80%, 90% of our population around there are drinking untreated water, whether from wells or from streams and rivers. All rivers in Liberia are being used as toilet place. People do it upstream at different places. I don't know what sense it makes. You want to ease yourself. You're in the bush. You leave the bush and you go to the river, climb on stick on the river, and ease yourself into the river that people go and draw downstream to use in other counties, in other places. All our rivers, and now the worst thing that happened to our rivers now is the proliferation of gold mining and the usage of mercury to be able to get the gold out of the soil, out of the clay at the end of the day. And this is causing pollution of our streams and our rivers. Those things lead to bad health numbers. So we have high maternal mortality and high infant rates of death, and a lot of sickness and early deaths. You can do something. You have that money. It comes into your hand. The government gives the money to the leadership of the county, both the legislative caucus and the appointed leadership. You got a referral hospital. Every district in that county is supposed to be covered by an ambulance. Every district. And people who get sick and they can't find a way, instead of putting a sick pregnant woman on a motorbike, to ride her on paved roads for miles and miles to take her to a health center, you're supposed to have ambulances, just a radio. So every town, almost everywhere got phone now. So we can even use the phone. Call and say, in Bijo town, in the other town, in district number 3, in the other place, there's a woman there that is sick. There's a man there that is sick, need to be taken to the hospital. You're sending an ambulance. And Grand Bassa County is not that large. They will go and grab the person and bring the person to the hospital. These little things are things that translate into the material well-being of the individual Liberian citizen, no matter where they are. But the lack of planning, and if you say you're superintendent, you got to wait for the executive to do such a thing when you have a budget, free money coming into your hand that is extra from the national budgetary process. That money should be used for the upkeep of the people in the county in different ways, strategic use of the money. And it's not there because, for instance, the people in the Senate and the House of Representatives, they already have enough money coming into their hands. They shouldn't be touching that money. Now, 1 cent, Janji Baba, I know you're watching the show or you're listening. Now, 1 cent of that money should go to either Senator Kanga or Senator Kape, who are both of them from Liberty Party, or from any other person. Now, 1 cent of that money is supposed to be used for by anybody, but that money should go towards the poor people in the place. And you have a lot of poverty, rural poverty, and other things in Grand Bassa County. Incentivize your farmers. Make sure your people have health care by providing them ambulances. You can even have 2, 3 mobile clinics, county-funded mobile clinics. Because even if you're doing that kind of thing, Mr. Gibbon, you start doing stuff like mobile clinics, and you even get back to Ashila Metal and say, hey, we're doing this, we need extra support. Or any other company, we need extra support. We need gasoline from LAC. We want to make sure our ambulances or our mobile clinic are on the road 24/7. Those companies in the corporate social responsibility will give you something to be able to use. But the thing that plagues Liberia is Joe will count himself first. Joe, not a Sparta. Sparta that a man who in prison, they say count 10 persons to free. And Sparta go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The people step outside and he won't follow. The people say, no, we already told you to count 10. So Joe knows that one. And so when they say count 10, Joe can walk outside first. Then he stay outside and start counting. So by the time he read 9, he already know he 10. Or Sparta stay in the prison to count. So the analogy or the lesson behind this is, in Liberia, every politician or appointed person acts like Joe. They step outside first. It's like, what is in there for me first? When I'm taking care of myself, then I can look down the road. So these are the issues that are affecting people. So when you look at someone like Janje, what Janje is doing is just replicated all across the country. People are sitting in offices, and the only thing they care about is themselves. They got to go, and one of the worst things Mr. Given, let me say this to you. Some of the worst things that happen when the people who do the orientation for these new officials, when they come into office, they will tell them, say, oh, when your predecessor, well, yeah, this is what we're doing. We're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing this. Money can come from so, money come from so, money come from so, money come from so. They give them everything initially. Instead of finding out what needs to be done to, lift the people up, the first thing to do in the office is tell them what they can do to benefit. So as a result, the system is just rotting. It ain't got nothing to do with political party. Believe you me, any party coming there that don't have an answer or solution for this problem will feel just like the way CDC is feeling.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome to On Point, Focus on Liberia. We are talking about the state of affairs for Grand Bassa County. I can attest, I know that the process of county sitting is real. They do a great job, but sometimes it is good for our leaders to come on these shows to actually educate us as to what is happening, what has happened. Even if they grill you, but at least the people are being informed. We cannot run our country, our county, our families in isolation. People want to know what's happening. It's not all about criticism. Now let's segue into something else. I've been on social media. We have seen all the criticism and everything else. I want us to specifically focus on Mr. Boykai, only on the positive. What has happened? What you like about this trip? Everybody have criticized. It's political season. Everybody's going to be doing that. But let's touch on some of the good things that you saw that Dr. Boyka have done, or that you like about this trip. Something that he can take back home, or can revive his spirit and get our politics on a positive note.
Let me say the first thing about Uncle Joe. I've said to you before, and I'll say it to you again. I have full confidence in his ability to deliver to the Liberian people. I don't have any doubt about him. You know what I scared for? The people around him. How committed are they? Or do they even understand the overarching need of the Liberian people? That's what I scared for. That's my fear. I have no. That man is decent, honorable. He's just. He has a sense of fairness. But my fear is those who have surrounded themselves, who are surrounding him rather, are they committed to the Liberian project? Do they even know what a Liberian project is in the first place? What are their individual ideologies? Are they just waiting for their time? Are they just waiting for their time? Because even the Bible says, he said, if you remove bad counsel from around the king, his throne will be established in righteousness. I've said to you on the show, I said one of the things I believe that is wrong with George Weah is the fact that McGill has that position that he has. And he doesn't have the Liberian picture in his mind. No, he has the CDC picture and he has his own picture in his mind. It's the same thing. I have no fear for Joe Buckeye. But my fear is this. The people around him, for Ellis Cummings, I even got no confidence because the first thing is these young people, instead of going into substance and making the argument ideological and based on tangibles, they are attacking personality. So they already disqualify themselves in my eyes. The people around Ellis Cummings, I have no confidence in them. That they even understand what Liberia needs. Because Liberia need all the crazy fight right now. Liberia needs sanity. We want clarity of purpose, clarity of vision. So I don't have any fear for Uncle Joe. Uncle Joe have validated my point that he is still up to the task by standing and fielding questions and speaking clearly, singly to issues. You don't hear him mumbling his words. He's not in cognitive decline. Yes, he's not as robust. Generally, his nature, people got to understand. He didn't become old before he became tentative, and in other words, what you would say, a slow talker. That's him. That's who he has been. He was never a fire person. He's not a person like someone like my dad, my late dad, who was all full of a lot of energy. Everything was pushing the point through. Uncle Joe is the one who is tentative. He takes his time to approach issues and to speak to issues. I have no doubt about his ability to deliver like we're out of the present nightmare we're in. My problem is he will have a fight on his hands, and the fight on his hands he's going to have is how to get those young people that are around him today on the team Liberia so that they can think Liberia, they can focus on moving the agenda forward. And not only themselves, because a lot of them are waiting. They want to pay debt. It's their time. They want someone want to be like Jefferson Koji, traveling and wearing a Gucci suit, spending $1,000 for a belt that you can put around the waist. Tell us, the same $40 belt can hold my trousers up. Do I have to spend that kind of money?
But I understand where you are coming from, and like I said, we have made joke, or the meme is all over the place. We wanted to concentrate on Dr. Boyka's trip and what are the positive, and I agree with you to some degree that they said the Christmas is not here yet, but on the eve of this Christmas, we are seeing someone I heard in some quarter that Costa is saying he wants to be the Nathaniel McGill of the Boyka if Boyka ever became president. I heard this other man they call Joe Lobo or whatever his name is,
George,
that embarrassed the vice president, that he wants to be finance minister. He wants to be the next toy. And then there was this joke about Mo Ali, where they say he want to be, and he said he want to be at the gender ministry, and everybody was laughing. But I think you are right.
But Mo is educated.
Yes, and he's very articulate. That I know. What I'm saying here is you are right. It is always those that are on the periphery, like Dr. Boyka is about to speak, and somebody walks onto the stage and whisper in his ear that you said this without giving him the chance to even alter a word, give that appearance as though he be, and I think I know what you were referring to when you said those around him.
No, not only them, but let me say this to you.
Yeah,
It
other
only
people.
shows that the person doesn't understand or how to be in the orbit of a person like that. You don't whisper in their ears like that. You write on a piece of paper and you put it
That's
before
correct.
the person
That's
can read
correct.
it and be able to address themselves to the situation based on your suggestion or your note. It's just for me, it's a non-issue, Mr. Gayman. It's a non-issue.
Well, what you know, you and I know, just like you said, if the president or somebody is talking, you pass. They call it passing the note. It's a piece of paper you just pass on to the security and they put it on the desk or put it on the podium or the lantern, and the person incorporate that message into what they are saying. But never have I seen someone walks to a candidate, they're about to say something, and then you just say,
Mr. Gayman is a non-issue.
no, no,
It's
no,
a non-issue.
it is an issue because it
No, it's
validates
a
what
non-issue.
it validates what you are saying. The old man, Joseph Boykai, you gotta say, you can say anything you want to say. He sat, he stood there, he did the best he could, he answered the question, he was honorable, he was diplomatic, he looked presidential, and he was very, very respectful. He did not denigrate anybody. He did not throw any job. Politicians do that to some degree, but it was strictly about what he came here to do. I guess to dispel the fact that people say he's feeble, he's old, he can't, but he stood there, he took the question, he did what he had to do. And I think those of us who are in the opposition, yes, you do not want to give your opposition an upper hand or praise, but there are times that when something good happens, you got to at least admit that this is good. You have to say this. So when we are talking, people
Yeah,
don't
but
expect.
you see the reason why I say it's a non-issue because you want to nitpick again like the typical people. It was a gaffe. We all agree it
Yes,
was a
yes,
gaffe,
but
right?
not
But
not
it's
not,
not.
not on
Hold,
him.
hold on, now, hold on, Mr.
Not
Gayman.
on him.
Yeah, it was a gaffe on George
There you
and not
go.
on him.
That's what
It's
I
a
want to
gaffe
separate.
because George incorporated.
I wanted to separate those two.
Yeah,
It was
it
not.
was
It
a
was not
gaffe
on
on
Dr.
George.
Boykai.
Yeah, it was a gaffe on George and not on the old man
That's
because
correct.
George does not know what it is to do protocol. George has not handled protocol before, so I'm very sure he did it on a good intention, but he because he lacks experience in that area. When you are a manner of you are, when you somebody who is one of the minders of a person like that, you don't whisper in their ear while they are talking. The only time you whisper in that person's ear in the case of imminent threat to their
Yes.
lives.
So let's go.
Let's go. If you don't want the people to hear it, you whisper in your ear, we got to go. That's a different thing. But if you just want them to understand there's something about a policy issue, write it on a piece of paper clearly, legibly, and put it before them. And the principal knows that if one of my assistants drops a paper before me, it needs my immediate attention. That's the why I can ignore. So I gotta take a pause, or even while reading, you can do two things at the same time. I can continue my thought. It's like what we call buffering in IT. Continue my thought because I already have it stored. I've already completed my thought in my mind, so I can continue expressing my thought while I also use another part of my brain to scan that paper to see what's in it. It's part of it. So I say it's a non-issue. I don't really want to anyway. I can't control what you have to say.
No,
But I
no.
just think
You and I are on the same page. I just wanted the audience and the critics out there to know that that gap was not on Dr. Boykai. It was on a young man who is actually trying to soothe his own ego to let the audience know that he's in charge or he's in control. But it is not on the vice president. And we have to make that distinction so the folks can know, because there are a lot of folks out there who just doesn't understand or who just don't understand protocol, how it works, including the judge himself who
no.
walked on stage. When the authority is on stage, that space belongs to him. Only the security can actually drop something on his table or on his desk or on his lantern.
No,
But
not
like
only security. Not security. Security not a job. That's distraction for the security, Mr.
yeah,
Damon.
yeah, we're talking about the AD cab or whoever is in charge at that point.
He
That
got his
person will.
special assistant are the
That's
ones that
correct.
run that aspect.
That's
Because the
correct.
security people ain't got nothing to do with information.
That's correct.
That's a
So
distraction for them.
so I mean
And
it was something. But anyway, if you were to grade this trip for the vice president, what grade would you give him so we can move on to the next
I
topic?
gave him around 85, 90.
Okay, so you gave him a
There's
B
nothing
plus.
perfect. Yes, I gave him around 85, 90.
Okay.
He did very well. He was able to articulate his views. Uh, do I want the views to have more substance and more specific language relating to principle, not only principle, but plans and procedures and how things will be done? I think I needed to have more substance in that area. But the fact is, the foundation is there that we can work with and build the substance so that he can speak more to the real issues. But on the whole, he did a very good job, very, very good job, and he has been consistent in doing the job. He even performed more brilliantly to me in Minnesota than he did in Philadelphia. And that shows that he's adapting to this new to his environment. He understands what is required of him, and he's put. One of the greatest thing that comes out of this for me is the fact that mentally people have seen that he's agile mentally. Physically he may not be robust, but I told you, knowing him for more than 40 years, he has not been a person of that kind of. He's not an energetic person who moves around and does things. Like I said, my father was his friend, and my father, they were different. My father was somebody who had a lot of energy. Uncle Joe is speculative. He's very, very tentative. He takes his time to do everything. So, in that sense, he's a national treasure because he has a wealth of experience. A vice president for 12 years, and we don't talk about vice president for 19, 7 more years, but he's seen the excesses. He's seen where he went wrong, where they made mistakes, the things that they didn't do well. And I think also for his pride and privilege, for his pride and his name, I think he will want to do more for the Liberian people. The only fear I have is what kind of team is he going to assemble around him? And how committed are those people to Liberia and not to their paycheck? That is my only thing. How committed will those people be to Liberia and not to a paycheck and not to the name and not to a government position? But the fact is, how are we going to come and together contribute for the upliftment of our? So I want to bring myself into the situation that if I'm given a piece of job, I know I need to. It's not just how I can steal, but how I can deliver. How we can all work together. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much. As far as the grading is concerned on his trip, I would give him a B. I disagree with you on this fact that he was not detailed. I don't think this trip was trip for him to be detailed at this point. I think the objective of this trip was for him to come, avail himself to the folks, for the folks to see him, like you say, his cognitive abilities, all of those things that people had doubt about. I think he checked those boxes, that he's okay. He can run the country. He can do everything that at some point, when the detail is necessary, he will put the meat on the bone. So
it's just me.
Yeah, well,
It's just me.
And from our own political experience, that's why they did. First of all, you want to show who you are and where you stand at this point, and then at some point, the policy will put the meat on the bone. So I gave him a B.
Mr. Gamer, I disagree. Let me tell you the reason why I disagree. I disagree because, look, I'm a Buckeye supporter, so I'm supposed to be saying everything was 100%. That's what I'm supposed to be saying here. I want him to be president of Liberia. I won't hide it. But I'm saying to you that I need to hear what fills him now. I'm not waiting until time for election campaigning. I want to start hearing the substance when it comes to agriculture. The substance. I know people say, oh, when I talk my own, the other people will steal from me. They will steal my ideas. They will steal my ideologies. They will steal my principles. They will steal my points, my values. No. I've seen it many times. You see somebody doing business selling or just plantain and fried plantain and fried fish. I just gave you a quick analogy, big brother. Fried fish, fried plantain, and stuff, right? You see people lining up to buy that thing in the evening. Somebody else sees it, but they don't understand the mechanics. They don't understand the architecture. They don't understand the principles. And they don't understand the lessons that brought that person to where they are. They just know that they can go in the market and buy plenty. They can go in the market and buy what flour and whatever and start and make plenty and color, and start selling it, right? They will sell and most likely crash because they never decoded. They never decoded the secret to success in that business. They only saw someone else doing it. The reason why I'm saying this is this. I want to hear the secret. Because even if the man steals what you said, the thing he lacks, I want to hear it because what he won't understand is the how to. You're not telling us the how to, but what you're telling us is what is going to be accomplished. That is what I want to hear. The how to is what we cook, is the cookbook. We do it inside. It's what we define inside. That one our secret. If you hear that we have a part of, you don't know our recipe. So if you don't know our recipe, you want to run with, and because you saw cook a nice part of cassava leaf, go cook your own. Because you don't have my recipe, you most likely will not get my result. So that's my point.
Okay, let's we're running out of time here. Let's go quickly. We're going to go to comments later on, but let's do the MCC. When we're done with the MCC, then we can spend the rest of our time with the comments and everything else and close, because we promised today that we're going to be here no more than an hour and a half. We're going an hour already, 5 o'clock. So let's look at the MCC scorecards, okay? And let's give our honest opinion on the scorecards, what we can do to better the score for 2022, and see how we can delve into this and make Liberia a winning country to get that $250 million, $257 million. I know $257 million can go a long way. If you have a budget of $500 million and somebody is giving you a grant of $257 million, that's about 50% of your budget. That could go to roads, can go to other things. So this is a serious thing that all Liberians needs to be a part of. This heavy lifting, everybody has a part. So let's go to the scorecard. What about the scorecard that bothers you? I mean, we have failed this thing 4 years in a row. Okay, I want you to be specific, because I want us to go. I just want us to hold it to the judge, to the president. We are tenure 4 years. We have, don't go back to anything else. We're talking about our 4 years. We have failed 4 years in a row. What is it that we have done or we have not done? What is it that we can do to pass the next? Because all they are asking is 10 out of 20. And we got 9 out of 20. So we are one off. So what is it that we can do?
But 10 out of 20 is not even enough. It's just the basic.
That's the baseline. So what I'm saying here
is the median.
You know, when someone says you need 70 to pass the class and you get 65, it's impossible to think about getting 100. Get out 70 first. So we just need the bare minimum to
you
pass.
and I know that 50% in most cases, even here, 50% is a failing grade in most courses. Only one, I think the only course I remember ever doing that 50% was a passing grade was discrete mathematics, math and statistics. Well, 50% was the passing grade.
Yeah, but let's limit it to their criteria. Their criteria
is where I'm going with this.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. I'm just trying to give you that on the toughest subject I've ever done. Mm-hmm. Yes, one in math courses that I ever did, discrete math and statistics. Yes, the volume is so plenty, so much. So they call it at 50. I understand that one, but most other courses, no, you at least 60, then you can pass. At 60, they tell you when you reach 60, then they can even factor in your essays and research projects and assignments. Otherwise, that's the grade stand. That means you get a failing grade. Yeah, let's go to it. In this present one, rule of law.
Can you post them for us to see, for the audience
I
to see?
can, because I don't
Oh,
have the
okay,
background
okay,
here.
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
I don't know if any of our guys are there,
Okay,
right?
go ahead.
It's they they say 50% on the rule of law.
Right.
And if you ask me, no, it's not a realistic score
No, but
because
let's keep it as is, because when it's in black, that means acceptable. When it's in red, it's not acceptable. So we know the rule of law is
okay, but then you
acceptable.
read them based on what you have there.
No, I don't. I don't have it here.
Okay. So what I have here is how you call it? Rule of law, 50%, 94% on gender in the economy, 77% on land rights and access, primary education, 27%. The same thing you
Yes.
and I have been to
That
saying.
that hold it right there. Hold it right there. You and we may even stop this whole show here on that particular one, because
No,
that
I also
one.
want to add this there. Please let me add this there.
Uh-huh.
Natural resources, protection of natural resources, 19%.
Okay. Now let's say we are at 9, okay, and we need to go up to 10 to get 250 million. And the reason that primary education is key to me, not that the natural resources is not, okay, but if you are going to be in the 21st century, and I'm talking to President Weah, and in particular, Mr. Toure, Minister Toure, if you and I
Why
know,
not Minister McGill?
no, listen to this.
McGill is the one that drives the agenda in the government, not Toure.
I understand this,
Oh,
but the
you missed
gentleman
this
that is
king, big
actually
brother.
in charge of the money. Okay, let's bring these guys on. Anybody who spends, who gets 19 out of 100, 19, not even 20, not 20%. And for those of us who, like me, one of the things that I blame the old order, and you and I have talked this over and over, my father and my mother never learned to read and write. And we blame that they could have done better in society if they had learned to read and write. And Towen knows this. And McGill knows this. And if you are not putting money, if the guy in 1847 spent more money than you in 2021, you got issues.
Mr. Gimmy, can I come in some more?
Yes, go ahead.
You can't create capacity to educate without funding.
But this is what I'm talking about.
I agree. I'm agreeing with you. It's not going to happen. The solution. You want to hear my suggestion how to solve this problem?
Please.
Leverage whatever Liberia has. Secure $80 million, not more than $80 million. $80 million for direct injection into education. $40 million for direct injection into healthcare. And $30 million right now for direct injection into agriculture. When I mean direct injection, I'm talking about the president himself sitting down on a daily basis and making sure that that money gets to the end users in whatever way, shape, or form, whether it's in the assistance in terms of agriculture, whether it's in terms of seeds, whether it's in terms of technical help and support, whether it's in terms of implements that it gets to the people, and then you carve out an agriculture policy that is for agriculture. For education, we have to standardize that all our education at the primary level, so that's why because we're talking about building a new foundation now, Mr. Gibbon. This has to start from the primary level. We have to make sure that we have an injection of cash into the primary level. We standardize the system in terms of education. Let me just get me out. In terms of education, in terms of teachers, we got to make sure that we have teachers across the board. But then also, again, the learning space. We got to make sure that our classrooms are well lit, that the students are in government-owned facilities that you can be able to invest into because it belongs to the government, that these places have correct ventilations. We have a standard. We develop a standard and we build new facilities all over the country to house our children and teach them. The third thing, that the most important thing that we need to do as a country right now, if we really do it, we established, Bronski was the one that brought this thing up. I didn't bring it up, and I'm saying it now. Anybody can incorporate it into the system. Or National Youth Service Corps, like Ghana and Nigeria has, well, meaning Nigeria. What would that do? Every university, a person, a young person that's graduating from university from maybe from 30 years downwards, they must do a year of national service. And what we will do, these people that are graduating on a yearly basis will be the teachers of these children all across the country. So we want to make sure that our children are brought up to speed in terms of basic standards. They must have the core standards, have arithmetic and reading skills based on their age levels. And what we do, these young students that are graduating, they are paid and they are sent out there into every county, every town that has a public school. The public school is standardized, and even you can even provide, bunking or dormitories for these students that will come, or these graduates that will come to live in these places where they don't have to pay rent. Nothing like that. Government provide these things. We need to do something because our children, they're failing mark. You see, so not just a mark. They represent or key statistics in our demography. And they're telling us that all these children are not meeting basic levels, basic standards, and they're lacking core capacities in different areas, and it will translate and it will carry into adulthood, and it will affect the country. How do we arrest that? Find the money, standardize our building, the education system, the curriculum, and then create the National Youth Service Corps. Every student that graduates, you send them out. They must do it if they will work, whether in the private sector or the public sector. They must go out to serve 1 year as teachers, administrators, and different things in all the counties. They'll go serve 1 year. If the place is too harsh, 6 months, you rotate them to a city and you send the other people from the city into the harsh places. When I'm talking about harsh, I'm talking about places that call like someone like Pukonjide. You don't send a child to Pukonjide for 1 year. You send them for 6 years, 6 months. When they serve, you take them from there. The other people in Greenville, all right, then you can send the Greenville people to Pukonjide. So you rotate them. So, but my point here is, if we do this, we'll be taking university graduates that will go and help the local teachers to teach. Their own will be to conduct study class after school, the same thing that you are engaged with. And we make sure we educate. The whole process is to make sure our children are educated. That is what it keeps me awake.
And I agree with you 100%. And this is not criticism of folks. Whoever from the government is listening. When former President Ellen Johnson introduced, under her leadership, introduced the community college system, I was on that conference call, and a gentleman from the Perspective, the editor general of the Perspective, editor-in-chief, Abraham Williams, asked this question. He said, the community college system is beautiful. Grand Bassa is getting one, and we are glad. But why aren't we talking about building a feeder program that will feed the local middle school, high school, and eventually the community college? We're hearing everybody talking about university colleges, but nobody putting money into the feeder program. That feeder program, this is what this man said in 2007, before the advent of the community college in 2008. And we are talking about almost 20 years later, 15 years later. Okay, well, the question that man asked is now showing up on the MCC report. We are talking about college education. We are talking about building universities and everything else, but we are not putting money into the feeder program, which is the primary system that determines how good your college is going to be. So, Honorable Toya and Honorable McGill, and those of you around the president, this is, to me, it's a low-hanging fruit It's a very low-hanging fruit. You want to pass the millennium test? One of the lowest hanging fruit is for you to hit the international scene and ask for money to be put into this particular line item. You cannot go to college if you do not have a good primary school system. If you don't learn your ABC and your SOSO, you can forget about calculus. Some of you are wondering how come when the newspaper guys are writing, they can't spell, they got run-on sentences, they don't have subject-verb agreement. They are doing the best they can because they never had that primary foundation.
Or typical example, someone come to speak on we invite somebody here, and the person is speaking. Every 3 words, there's a pause word. It shows to you that the person didn't have the right skills. They didn't imbibe the right skills. It comes with education, and these things, public speaking, is part of education. People should do it as an elective to be able to upgrade your ability to even write essays and write papers and then speak publicly, address yourself to issues, with clarity, talk, all these different things. But it comes from having a system. The problem here is, where does our priority lie, Mr. Gaiman? When will we capture this thing? I'm saying this thing to say that if we don't capture it from that primary level, that's why it's one of the first in the list of scores. All right, primary education. If you can make 27% in primary education, look at natural resources, Mr. Gaiman. Protecting your natural resources.
19.
Mr. Gaiman, I mentioned to you here before, all across Grand Bassa, Riverside, Sino, Lofa. Not too much in Lofa per se, but Nimba County, the southeast, that have a lot of gold.
Mm-hmm.
The Chinese, the Nigerians, the Ghanaians,
the Bonabis,
the Burkinabes, even the Fulanese, they are out in our wilderness and ravishing and polluting our rivers with mercury,
cutting the logs.
And you know what happened? Let me tell you something. We have an army that have been trained, that sits in the barracks because they have nothing to do, really. Our army has nothing to do. See, that's where trouble comes from, idleness. Instead of them sitting over there, the army should be the one enforcing the FDA policies out there. I saw Ghana do it. I told you about it. We saw the Ghana army burning excavators. And some of the excavators cost almost $1 million. $1 million US. So if you got that thing in the bush and you're doing illegal gold mining, and they tell you to get it from there, you can get it from there. They come to burn everything. Some of those industrial water pumps, I saw them burn, cost more than $100,000 for one. Okay? And I saw them burn it. They put fire on it and burn it in care. Because you're not supposed to be there. They know the reason why they burned it? Because they know if they take it from there, Mango will happen in the background. Those people will come and still reclaim the property from wherever they seize it to be. Most likely. So just burning. That thing serves as a deterrent. We can sit down and nobody benefits. The people, you destroy the people, the forest, you destroy the environment, and they don't benefit because you take everything from them, you don't take anything back to them, and you take the money, and the government doesn't even get revenue because it's unregulated mining. So as a result, only the people who are doing it get rich. It will force our artisanal. We're doing this thing and making a small money. You have foreigners coming now and polluting the environment and destroying everything, and nobody. That's why it's there. If the white man can say, I hold you responsible for not protecting your own house, it's a shame and a disgrace. You have an army. The army got equipment. They got trucks. They got and 4 Ranger pickups. All right. Guess what? They still receive, even though they don't drive those things around like that, but they still receive monthly allotment for fuel that they convert to their personal use. The different minister was doing it. Brandon Tamaka was doing it on the Ellie. He was taking the fuel oil for the trucks, because even though they're not driving around, they're still providing fuel for those trucks. They're part of their budget, national defense budget. So since you're making a provision, send them to Nimba, send them to Nimba County, send them to Riverside, send them to Channel and Grand Crew, and even River G and Grand Bassa County. Let them put a stop to the artisanal mining and destruction of our natural resources. This thing is serious. But guess what? Nobody cares. And I'm telling you today, this is not politics. The person who drives the president, that McGill, not even Tue. If Tue wants something, he goes through McGill. It's McGill that drives the president's agenda. The president listens to McGill. When the president was talking to some foreigners about somebody taking over from him, that McGill he said would take over. Maybe when I'm friend that McGill would take over. Why ain't call nobody else's name? You will underestimate the power of that guy. And if that guy wakes up and say, okay, you know what? We'll drive this agenda, this goal, we'll meet it. We'll protect our environment. Police, the Minister of National Defense, we'll use the high court said, the Joint Security Council or whatever, and we'll go out there and we'll chase these guys from our forests. Find hot-blooded young soldiers and say, I gave you the command. Move them away. You know, so man, when you go, you can't yet come. Before long, you will see all our forests will be cleared. That's all.
Just excellent. Mr. Tule, you and I don't agree on many things, but today we are in.
Criticize CDC.
No, you criticize. Listen, this criticism is not CDC criticism. This is a Liberia criticism. We cannot sit on any platform, whether you Sedition or you CPPN or wherever you come from, to look at that number. And you know me, and the primary education is very key, because my children are doing exceptionally well because they were able to get a good foundation. And we all know this. If we don't invest in anything else in Liberia, let's invest in primary education. 10 years. If we constantly invest in primary education for 10 years, 10 years consecutively, Mr. Tule, we are smart. We are exposed. We're quick to learn. We can do this. But it's also incumbent upon the leaders. And now that CDC, our party, is in power, there is no excuse. I know people say we don't have money. I understand this. But where there is a will, there's always a way. Primary education, for me, is a low-hanging fruit that can put you over the top. If we can read few comments, we got 10 minutes left in our show here. If we have few comments, then we are going to go to the closing segment so we can be out of here for once on time. Do we have any comments?
All right, so while we're waiting for comments, all right, let's look at some of this argument.
Yeah, go ahead.
Another one of the thing in the MCC, besides protecting the natural resources, the same thing. Girls' education 23%, fiscal policy 38%. That is telling you that you don't have a central system, because the fiscal policy is your control of your monetary system, a policy that drives the economy. And so Samuel Tue goes and make noise on Spoon TV and talk all kind of education. With economic jargon that is devoid of reality. Doesn't change the fact that the indicators on the ground are bad, but it's not only restricted to Liberia. Economically, right now there's inflation everywhere. We buy gas in Canada, one of the highest we pay for gallon of gas in Canada all year round. So it doesn't even move us there when you're carrying up. While people complaining, we don't complain much because we already know how much we're paying here. But the issue on the ground is there's inflation, because I know how much $400. Now I go in the market with $400. I know I don't get much, because I don't get as much as I used to get. What I used to, when I go to the butcher shop, I used to spend $111. That was my long time budget. Now for that same amount that's supposed to carry me for some time, carry my home for some time, I am spending $170 now. So we see the difference. It's all over the place. But what happens is the lack of policy, and this is indicative of that. Telling you 38%, 33% in fiscal policy, 38% in inflation. And it means, that the cost of goods and services are just going up and up and up and up and up. And even if you lie and say, "Oh, we did the U.S. dollar rate coming down," it does not affect the bottom line. The cost of goods and services remain the same, or they even escalate. So we in a problem in Liberia, and it's just the truth. And how do we resolve these issues without a frank dialogue? All right, when everyone, by the time I criticize you, say I'm your enemy. But I'm not only trying to criticize you, I want to be able to help you, to give you suggestions that you can incorporate and help to make your leadership better. Okay, you and myself talk about it just now. Go and source, but the first thing that they must do that affect all of these is to rein in corruption, and that starts with themselves. If they are serious and they start to rein in corruption from their own self and say, okay, no, we yeah, it's enough, it's enough. Let's no more stealing. Let's put they make corruption really point enemy number one. That alone can attract enterprise funding. It can
Well,
attract venture capital. If you do that, it can trap
well,
money. Money can come to your country. People will say, okay, yeah, that place is a decent place for me to do business.
yeah, but ironically, one of the areas that they did very well in that they're getting credit for is about their their attention to fighting corruption. They did very well on our corruption index, but they did very poorly on. I mean, I'm talking about areas that you can have an immediate impact, which is those things that we are talking about in the low teens and very low 20s. One that the whole world will support, and you and I know this, is primary education and girls' education. Those two things. Listen, Tula, if I got up from here and went to the UK or went to Joe Biden or went to India or went to France and say I need money for primary and girls' education, they would be sympathetic as opposed to we need money for to augment our salary. Nobody wants to listen to it. So those, to me, those are the low hanging fruit that can be had if you want to go over that point. Yes, girls' education, primary education spending, those two things will put you over the top. I don't care who you are. You don't need to be a rocket
Mr.
scientist to know
Mr.
that.
Gaiman, Mr. Gaiman, you call 56% control of corruption very well. They did very
Yes.
well, very well.
Yes, because
All 100.
we have always been around 49, 50%.
But
So
no, they just did a little better than previously. But 50%,
yes.
it can never be very well. Very well, when very well is almost as is the same as excellent.
No,
When you
what we
say
are
very
doing.
well, Mr. Gaiman, when you say it's very well, you're trying to say that the person did excellently.
Well, no. What I'm
No,
saying here,
no.
we are talking about incremental development. That's fine. We are not. We are talking about regression. If you are here tapping your chest as a feminist in chief, like my boss or my standard bearer says, and then the indicator says, "Well, standard bearer a feminist in chief, uh, your education, your funding for women." It's one of the lowest. I mean, please, that doesn't jive well. We are talking about education. We want our landmark to be that we are the education president. But then when you look at the indicators and it says primary education, you are so low. It is unbelievable. So
All right.
if I wanted to deal with those low hanging fruit, that's something that would give me, if I were to be president of Liberia and I were looking at those indicators and I said, I want to be like George H.W. Bush. He said, I want to be known as the education president and we will leave no child behind. So everything they have done, they put money into that line item and say, if I don't accomplish anything in my life, I will be known as the education president. So they came up with no child left behind, and they tweaked, they did everything they could to put money into primary education. I know people are going to
Okay,
say,
Mr.
don't
Gaiman,
compare the United States. Yeah, don't compare the United States to Liberia. I know they will say that, but we are
we
talking
couldn't
about some
get
idea on the macro level. Huh?
we couldn't get the comments, but I read a comment. I was just looking at the comment, and somebody was
Okay.
telling me if I have my ability to evaluate or assess a candidate. say I criticize Madam Salih. The person didn't even say I criticize, say I hate Madam Salih. We read the
But
comments. So
no,
Tule
yeah, but
claims
no,
Joe
but
Manu. I just want to read it quickly and
no, I don't
address
want you to
myself.
even read that one because they want to. We're talking about positive, how we face our country. We're not here to criticize
No, but
people
yeah, I
because they
just
want
wanted to say something
they're thinking
because
of
the person,
fight.
I just want you to know that my support for Buckeye has to do with me knowing him on a personal level, like I knew Charles Bronski on a personal level. I would leave it there. But let's get back to this thing. I will follow what you said. Uh, the girls primary education completion rate is 24%.
24. Listen,
Yeah,
man.
child health care 35%. Immunization rate 35%. It went up. Most of these things have gone up a little bit.
Yeah, but
Primary
the primary one and the
primary
girls'
education
education.
23%.
No, it's
Natural resource
unacceptable.
protection from 24%, 23%.
There were one there for 19. There were one there at
Yeah,
19.
yes. Sorry, that last year was 19. I think
Okay.
last year should have been 19.
Okay.
Health expenditure, they say they did well in this. That's what we should give them. Not how you call it, say excellent or not very well. They made a pass because this is what all these grades are pass. All these grades are passed. That's just what
Yeah,
you got.
because yes,
Pass.
they're trending.
Except for freedom of information, that's 81%. Gender in economy is 81%.
No,
That is
those
not passed. That is
it's too late. I don't want to talk about those things that they do. I'm talking about the one that we are terrible at. I don't want to look at things. I can beat my chest. Anybody can
fiscal
do that.
policy. You stay terrible at fiscal policy. You score 22% at fiscal policy. But you see, it's not a here or there because political rights is 27% and it's giving a green here.
Right.
Okay, and they say, okay, you in charge of you mean you're doing well when it comes to the control of corruption. Give you 56%. But you did better in it. But the reality here is it's not good enough.
Yeah, but listen, anything in the 20s and below for a modern country, it is unacceptable. What are you, CDC or you? If you listen, man, for me, it's a pet peeve educating kids, and then
you know one of the things. Listen, when Madam Salif announced the budget to be $600 million before the 20, I think it was 500 million, right? Before the 2011 election.
Yes.
She made an announcement that she increased the budget past $500 million, right? It wasn't based on realistic numbers in terms of revenue generation. She knew that
it was projection.
There was a projection, right? And they've always fallen short of that forecasted budget. There was always a shortfall. They were digging hole, cover hole, digging hole, cover hole, digging hole, cover hole. One of the political leaders vying for the position to replace Weah has already said that he wants to increase his budget past $1 billion when he become. And I asked the question from where? Be realistic. But this is what I wanted to say. If you're not utilizing the $500 or $600 million to benefit the people, there's no need to increase it to that much because you have not plugged the holes. You've not dealt with wastage. You have not instituted austerity measures. It'll be a waste. Make sure that the small money is being gathered, is well utilized first. Then you say, okay, I want to increase it. Then we'll give you the support. Because what is happening here now with this scorecard it validates everything we have been saying about this government. That the government is failing miserably. They can say everything they want to say.
Well, that I disagree with you.
But then your scorecard say you're failing.
My scorecard say I'm 1 point shy of passing, and I'm saying next year I got 2 low-hanging fruit that is so bad that anything I do, if I bring my girl education from 19 or from 21% to 23%, I will have done well. If I had put money into primary education from 21%, if I bring it up to 30%, I would have done very well. It's not only the numbers, but if you bring that number up from 21 to 30, which I think can happen or better, it will say
Mr. Gayman,
yes.
Mr. Gayman, if you are telling me that what you are aiming for is to meet 1% instead of increasing these numbers to all of them being in the green and translating to the material well-being of the Liberian people, then that's why the government will fail. Because guess what?
But listen to this.
Listen. Your standard is just too low.
No, but
if
listen.
Your standard is to increase.
No, you said we should be realistic in our deliberations, and we just
but you're not accepting the fact that this is a failure.
No, we agree that those numbers
50%.
But listen to this. Listen to this. When we're talking about these numbers now, they are correlated to something we call funding. You just admitted that people just throw numbers around and say, I'm going to raise this thing to $1 billion without the corresponding why, where, and when you're going to get this money. How does it come? Okay, you can't just say, I'm going to raise the money to $1 billion. The money has, like you said, Ellen has projected that she will bring 550 million into the budget. And for several years, they have budget shortfall. That means you are saying things to appease the audience, to look and sound sophisticated, to sound as though you are doing that. But in reality, it is not there. Cummings cannot tell you he's going to raise our budget to $1 billion without telling us where is this money going to come from, or how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen. I mean, Mr. Tula, I can tell you right now that I can raise Liberia's budget to $2 trillion. As long as you don't ask me how long, when, where is the money coming from, I can just leave it out there like they have done, and everybody running with it that he's going to raise it to $1 billion, and nobody asking the key question. So what I'm saying here, we got to be realistic. Putting money into girls' education or primary education to 1 percentage point may be, like you say, about $80 million. Okay,
is the budget for the year coming? In the next, when is the budget? Liberian budget now? Is it from January or from
January 1 to December 31st now?
Okay, so if they're serious, what is the constant in terms of education? The education portion of the budget is what?
Listen, if you I think they are talking about like 4%, which is minuscule compared to anything else. I say
it's a crime against the future.
Obviously,
it's a crime.
Obviously,
it's a crime against the future, right?
Obviously.
Yeah. So if that and you think 10% is manageable,
that would like I said, it would be my goal.
10% would be around $60 million.
Yes, that's my goal. We are going from 4 million to 60 million. That's a that's a quantum leap, and I think the president can do that with a goodwill around the world where he's going by talking to the other world.
Who is going to realistically institute austerity?
Well, we are what we are doing. Like you and I are doing.
Yeah, listen, Mr. Gibbon. The last time talk about austerity, they went against the salaries of the line workers. Mm-hmm. They did not do real austerity in terms of cutting down vehicles, the kind of vehicles they buy, how they all these different costs. I can tell you something. Any real person that really loves Liberia, you can find an organization and say, come and help us save money. How can you cut this budget down realistically that we can function, but at a reduced rate of expenditure?
And this is where the U.S. ambassador came in. I think you read his statement. He said the president is one of the few people that were invited to address the democracy conference. And then he said, what we are looking for are goals, commitment. Then he qualified that by what you just said. Realistic commitment that we can hold you to within the next year, and that will transition into the real conference in Washington, D.C. 2022. So I like what they are doing. They are giving you the barometers. They are telling you this is a landmark. We are calling you to make the commitment that you are going to put money into these line items. And if you do that, we will hold you to it. And if you do it, then you're going to be rewarded. And I like that format. You are not just coming here to give us, I'm going to raise the money to $1 billion and people clap for you. If you say you're going to raise a line item by 10% or a whole percentage point, the operative word there is realistic, concrete commitment. Mm-hmm. How are you committed to doing this? Not just writing. Now Now they want you to give them a promissory note. The how, the when, and how long you want to give it to them. Because now he says from now to 2022, because remember now your budget comes into effect January 1. By the end of January 1, 2022, by the end of 2022, we will have a clear indicator whether what you were saying you were bluffing. So I like that. It's the carrot and stick thing. If you do well and you're not
So
bluffing,
you know the one question I have before we go,
uh-huh,
before we do our final statement.
uh-huh.
What were the indicators? What were the indicators they look at to say that they are fighting corruption? I really, really would have loved to find they say control of corruption. They even gave them 56, which in my view is still failing.
Yes,
But
listen
they
to
gave
this.
them 56%.
Listen to this. When I spoke to somebody from the embassy, what the guy from the American embassy said, it is most of the measure that we put in place. I'm talking about the U.S. now. We're talking about based on USAID and all of those things.
Yeah.
Because, like he said, we have operative at most of the key agencies. So those things that we have suggested that they have put in place, that they agree, because in the past, when these people make these suggestions, we balk because it interfere with our own, like you say, our own greed
Agenda.
and our own agenda.
Yeah.
So this time people are saying, listen, okay, if this is going to help us, then let's do it. So by doing that, they say, well, they're getting there. So they are moving it up to another level now.
But you know what will accelerate the process?
Mhm.
I mean, I let all our up in the explanation, Mr. Given. Let me cut straight to the chase.
Mhm.
You know what will accelerate the process?
No.
When the executive, the principal himself,
Mhm.
starts enumerating his ideas and his views on the issue of corruption.
But that's what they told him. That's what they told him to do December 9th. He has to do that.
All right.
That's what they told him. December 9th, you have to give us a concrete a plan of what you're going to do. And I like what they say. We have we have circled this welcome too many times. You have to give us something realistic.
Yeah.
And durable commitment. That's what they said. The ambassador said it here. I got a commitment that we can actually say this is deliverable outcomes and deliver. That's what we are looking. We're not looking for 10 years from now. We're gonna raise our $2 billion. No. We want something. And he said this. They don't want it from the finance minister, from the secretary of state, from Minister of Presidential Affairs. They want it from the president himself, just like you said, the executive stop. You got to deliver that. You say, I put my face on this. In the next 12 months, these line items that I was checked will be at this level.
You know, the first thing they will feel, you know what they will start feeling? The intent, the execution of the entire thing in terms of printing money and how it's going to be brought into the country and all the diriba around it. You see, you got to be careful with foundations. When you set 40 foundations, it affect your processes going forward, even if you don't intend it to be effective.
I don't think so, because this time around, you saw what the U.S. Embassy said again, that this time around, money being brought into the country is going to be done. And it's terrible to say this, to admit this, because we're supposed to be an independent country. For the U.S. to say we basically co-sign that Crow. Crow is going to come and help with how money are infused into the economy based on the central bank, not the central bank, but the Federal Reserve in the United States.
Do you know all the things they are doing right now? Do you know what they're saying?
Well,
the same thing that they do is what they are doing now.
Well, but
there's something of Ellen and I, right? Or before Ellen?
Yeah, they did the MCAT or whatever they call that. That the
there's something doing Ellington, right?
Yes.
There's something that they have. What were their names? They call them something.
GMAT.
They brought GMAT. It's the same, and we're not supposed to be going back. We're supposed to be going forward. So
Yeah,
coming, but anyway, at least Mr. Gamer, Mr. Gamer, Mr. Gamer.
yes.
If you can just get, let me tell you something. The person that holds the reins of George Weah is Nathaniel McGill. You have a relationship with McGill. If McGill can get on board with the developmental agenda of Liberia, George Weah will do well.
Listen, McGill will have no choice.
All right.
He will have no choice. Well, the last time when we did a closing, I did a closing. No, you did closing first, and then I follow. So this time around, I'm going to be fair. I'm going to do my closing first, and then you can follow, and then bring us to a close. The next guy comes on at 6 o'clock. I want to give them a little time to come in and do the rehearsal. So I want to thank our audience. We didn't have time to do the reading of the comments and the phone calls because we got carried away with something that is dear to our hearts. It's our country. Whenever it comes to Liberia, people like to see George, Tule, and myself, anybody else, fighting over partisanship without the corresponding suggestion or solution to what this should be. You heard Mr. Tule today telling us that if the government could strategize in raising $80 million, not all at once, but committing to $80 million to a line item like agriculture, education, within no time, we will come out of this doldrum he's talking about. Those are some ideas that we all can look at. It doesn't matter who brings it up as long as it helps our landscape. And our county leaders, when they invite you to this show, people want to know, your folks want to know how well you are doing locally. How well should they look up to you? How far should they look? Can you tell them whether things are getting better? Things will get better. They want you to assure them. People are restless. Inflation is an international, it's a global phenomenon. We are feeling it here. You as the leader, you should assure them that listen, this is not only us. Today in California, I posted it. Gasoline is a $5.09 USD. Yesterday, I went to Publix to buy my a pack of plantain chips that I use. It's a sweet plantain chip. I just love it as a snack. I used to pay $2.99 for the bag. Thursday, I went to the supermarket, took 2 bags of the stuff, took it up front without looking at the price. I got over there, and the lady told me that it is $14.20 for the 2 bags. I said, this is $2.99. It should be no more than $6. She said, look at the price. When I went back and checked, the price have gone up to $6.99. That's over 100%. So the inflation thing is not only in Liberia, is here, but the leader should be able to tell you that what's causing the inflation. Like we say, when United States catches a cold, we in Liberia, just the sneezing, not the cold itself, just the sneeze.
We'll catch cold.
We're feeling it there. They sneeze here, we catch the cold. If they catch the cold, forget it, we are dead.
Man, I see.
So these things are things, and then when you look at what Biden said in his press release or in his conference, he says we are doing all we can to make sure that this is not a long-term thing. He has proposed his $1.7 trillion budget proposal that will pass, but they left out the social piece, which is child care. These are things that are killing the local family, child care, gasoline, those things. That's the second part that is coming. And hopefully the Republicans and the Democrats can work together. So once they come up with the child care and child safety, that cuts across the whole world, because now USAID also going to be putting money into child care, into early childhood education, vaccination, all of those things come out of there. So he's trying to allay our fear that, listen, we are telling you within the next couple of months, this thing is going to pass. That's what leaders do. I expected my brother and my good friend, Janji, to be out here to tell the Bassa people, my people, this is what's happening all around the world. This is what we think is happening, and this is how it's going to happen. This is when it's going to happen. At least they know where we are coming from. So, Mr. Tule, thank you very much for today. I think today was one of my most productive days where we found actual solution. We found gaps. where we make suggestions, and hopefully those that are in power will listen and don't see this as a criticism, but this is an advice to augment their policies. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week, same time. Mr. Tool is all yours.
Yeah. Okay. So oh, it was nice again being here, and the reality here is this: that in the absence of concrete plans to be able to tackle these issues, it will just be a revolving cycle. Every time we'll come back again, we'll discuss the same things again because there won't be any real injection of not only cash but injection of focus. You can inject your focus into something to a great extent that you will get the outcomes, desired outcomes. And one of the reasons why we're not meeting these desired outcome is the fact that our attention, our focus is somewhere else. And like I said to you earlier, I said superintendents, that one is superintendents. Like I give you the typical example of the military. We got these couple of thousand trained men sitting there, basically doing nothing, just passing around on a daily basis. Use them to get some things done. You get it. Even the engineer, the engineer core of the AFL, like those guys supposed to be giving equipment and money and gasoline and fuel and everything. They're supposed to go and help with the roads, all those bulk pits, the major impediments like going on the road to the southeast. They got some major bulk pits where people can spend days. Send the AFL there with the equipment. Let them go and make sure that those places are passable. These are the things that they're supposed to be doing. We need training to be sitting there and paying them every month to sit in the barrack, just sit in the barrack doing nothing. They're supposed to be out there working. Okay, so in education and childhood education or primary education, if we do not see how we can, we are robbing the future of the country by not educating the children, because the children, when they don't meet their basic skills level, they will end up become teenagers who also have default in their various skill levels. And then they'll go into university and they will better pass university. They will get out, they'll be put out there and they cannot even write simple letters or essays. And you know why? It's because our whole process from the bottom up needs to be invested into. This is not a George Weah problem. He did not create this problem. The problem has been in existence. What can we do to move the needle towards proper development in Liberia? That is my point. That is what I'm concerned about right now. And that's what I want us to talk about. So, Jerome, Mr. Gaiman, thank you so much for today. I pray that the government will start to think about a legacy. Think what are you leaving with the people? Think how are you benefiting Liberia? Think what outcomes are you getting by the things that you are doing? And try and put some austerity into place. Cut down the wastage and try and make sure that corruption. Don't settle for 50. Go for 70%, and from there 80%. We can do better. If Rwanda can get their thing in order, nothing stops us from getting our things in order. It comes from the leadership. That's why Mr. Gaiman said, the American ambassador said they want to get undertakings, commitment from the president. Because they know if it doesn't come from the head, it's not going to be implemented in Liberia. It would never work. It would never work. The day President Weah said, I don't want stealing to happen in Liberia, he makes a couple of examples of public officials and online people. People will just fall in line. You will see. When you tell somebody, say, let's steal, the person will say, maybe the person trying to set me up. I'm a man. Don't bring that into me. Everybody will be afraid. Liberia can still be a place that we all can be proud of. In every way, not just our home, what we want to go back to, but a home that we can go back to where we have everything working well. That's what we pray for. That's what we want. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Mr. Gaiman. We'll be here next week, Sunday. And it's not just going to be next week. We want to really encourage you to tune in because next week is going to be wow. Trust me, you will hear from us during the course of the week as to how the week will be. The weekend, how Sunday will be. And then our next show will be a great show. We want to encourage you to tune in at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on Sunday and be a part of what we're going to do. Thank you. We'll see you on Sunday. God bless.
We all